Hello and welcome to another Genestealer cult video. Now before we get into today's video, I would like to say a big thank you to York Champ for sending in some awesome pictures of his bolt action Germans. Now I know Germans are not Genestealer cult, but they both begin with the letter G, and I didn't have any other Genestealer cult pictures to use in my video, and I thought, you know what, these guys look really cool. I want to show them off in my video, and it's my channel, so I can do what I want. No, not that last bit. Edit that out. Anyway. Jokes aside, thank you for sending these pictures in York. I absolutely love the bolt action Germans. I really like what you've managed to achieve with that Panzer II. Panzer II is one of my favourite vehicles. The transfers are so crisp. I think you've done that model justice. So thank you for sending these pictures in. If anyone else has got any cool pictures they want me to use in my videos, then please post them on my Facebook page or email them directly to me. And there will be links and emails down in the description below. Now, without further ado, let's get into today's Genestealer Cult Tactics video. Now, today, guys, I wanted to do a quick tip tactica for one of my favourite units in the Genestealer Cult Codex, which is the Hybrid Metamorphs. Now, currently, Hybrid Metamorphs are quite an expensive unit, and they're probably not in the best place. However, they do still have what I consider to be an absolutely fantastic role in the Genestealer Cult Codex, which is they are really strong blenders. And they are actually one of the units that can pump out a horrendous amount of high strength attacks that can be effective against almost anything in the game. In fact, I would argue that Genestealer Cult Hybrid Metamorphs are the most blendery thing in the Genestealer Cult Codex. That's more than Patriarchs, that's more than pure strain Genestealers themselves. These guys really do have a huge amount of attacks. And just to start with, and we'll look at it today, you can boost them up to have even more attacks. If you're willing to pay for it, you can get a unit which just can blend through almost anything in the game. So let's take a look at the Hybrid Metamorph now. So its base cost is 11 points. And if you're going to do it the way that I suggest you do it, you're going to have to pay for 2 Metamorph Talons. And each of those Metamorph Talons costs 2 points. So you're looking at 15 points for each one of these guys. However, they only come in squads of 10. So you're never really actually going to break the bank on them, and taking one squad of them is pretty good. I think if you started going all in and taking 3 squads of them, then it's going to really start impacting your list. But just taking a cheeky squad of Hybrid Metamorphs in amongst all the other threats that you'll be taking, Acolytes, Aberrants, maybe Pure Strain Genestealers, maybe Allied Tyrannid Genestealers. Yeah, all these other options that you're going to have, having a cheeky squad of Hybrid Metamorphs in there, they could really catch your opponent by surprise. And when they hit, like I said, they can blend almost anything. Now, if we take a look at their stats, they've got the standard 6 as movement, they've got standard weapon skill 3+, blitz skill 4+, strength 4, toughness 3, 1 wound, attacks 3, leadership 7, 5+ save. So they have 3 attacks, but they're only toughness 3, and they only have 1 wound. So these guys are fragile. But that 3 attacks, I mean, that's as many as a pure strain Genestealer. Okay? That's as many as a pure strain. However, they each come with 1 Metamorph Talon. But don't forget, you can take an additional Metamorph Talon. You swap your Rending Claw out for 2 Metamorph Talons. Okay? Now, each time that you use a Metamorph Talon, it can make 1 additional attack with this weapon. Add 1 to the hit rolls of attacks made with this weapon. So actually, Hybrid Metamorphs as standard, because they come with a Talon, have 4 attacks base. Which is actually more than a pure strain Genestealer. And if you take 2 Hybrid Metamorph Talons, so 2 Talons in your Hybrid Metamorphs, that's 5 attacks per guy. Now pure strain Genestealers only have 3 attacks, and they only hit the 3+. Hybrid Metamorphs have 5 attacks with their Talons, and they hit on 2s when they're using the Talon. So when that's 5 attacks hitting on 2s. Now another thing that Hybrid Metamorphs can take is a cult icon, which Genestealers can't do. And your cult icon allows you to re-roll hit rolls of 1 in the fight phase as long as you have a cult icon. So that means you've got a unit of 10 of these guys. They've got 50 attacks base, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s. That's independent. We're not even looking at adding in support characters, which when you think about it, makes this unit quite unique. Because it means they don't need support characters. They don't need the primers to come along and give them that +1 to hit. They don't need it. They've got the +1 to hit inbuilt. They don't need some sort of reroll 1s to come from some another source. They have it inbuilt. So the primers, which you use to boost your acolytes, you think, oh well, acolytes are cheaper, so I'll take acolytes, right? Well, yeah, but don't forget, if you're taking acolytes, you've got to take a primus in there as well. You've got to take his costs into account. He's 85 points. Hybrid Metamorphs, yeah, they might be almost double the points of an acolyte squad, but they don't need babysitting. You don't have to worry about conga lining them back to try and stay in the Primus's range or anything like that. They just go for it. And that's another thing that I want to mention about Hybrid Metamorphs. With this being self-contained, means that, and being in a smaller unit of 5 to 10 guys, means that in the 9th edition age, where elite infantry small units are more viable than big units, Hybrid Metamorphs are more flexible. They don't take as much board room. You're more likely to get every single one of them into combat. They are, if you see the acolyte hybrids and the pure strength Genestealers or allied Genestealers as the blunt sledgehammer, I would see Hybrid Metamorphs as a scalpel, self-contained and precise. Okay. Now, we've already looked at the base unit here. Okay, but then we can start adding on some more buffs, and it starts getting a little crazy. You see, one buff that you can put on your Genestealer cult, guys, which isn't even cult creed specific, it's one, if you like Pauper Princes, if you like Bladed Cog or Twisted Helix, it doesn't matter. One buff you can put on them is the Psychic Power Might from Beyond, which gives them an additional strength and an additional attack, which means your basic guys now are rocking 6 attacks each, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, and their strength 5. And the strength 5 bracket's really, really nice, because what that means is any unit in the game, you'll never wound it on worse than a 5. You're looking at Imperial Knights, you won't be wounding them on worse than a 5, and also it means you'll be wounding most enemies on 3s. Now, 9th edition meta that we're currently seeing, we're seeing a lot of toughness 5 units, which this is really good because it allows you to wound those on 4s. But if you want to take it a step further, you can actually put on another buff to these guys, which again is non-cult creed specific, and you can take the relic, the icon of the cult ascendant. It's actually one of the strongest relics that Genestealer cult have, and you put that on an acolyte icon mod, and it gives all units within 6 inches of him an additional strength. So now we'll look, if you combine those 2 buffs, you're looking at a unit of Hybrid Metamorphs which have got 60 attacks each, which are strength 6, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s. Which means anything like Ravenwing Bikers, anything like any Death Guard unit pretty much, you're going to be wounding them on 3s, which is really, really nice. Now, the problem with taking the icon of the Cult Ascendant, whilst it's really good, it does mean you're starting to have more characters having to babysit your Hybrid Metamorphs, which isn't ideal, because then you're starting to spend more points on them. Okay, now whilst the Might from Beyond power and the icon of the Cult Ascendant are good for buffing many of your combat units, it still is piling on the points for your Hybrid Metamorphs potentially, if they're maybe your only combat unit or one of. Another way of doing it is going Twisted Helix. Okay, now Twisted Helix just gives you an inbuilt additional strength, along with being able to advance an additional 2 inches. But that means that just with the cost of a Hybrid Metamorph and having a cycle within 18 inches of them, which isn't that close, you're able, you still even you don't need relics or anything like that, you're able to get up to that magical strength 6 again. If you combine Icon of the Cult Ascendant and Might from Beyond and Twisted Helix, then you're starting to get silly, because then you're starting to look at strength 7. However, I don't think strength 7 is that important. You will tend to find that strength 5 or strength 6 is the sweet spot, because strength 5 is good as a take all comers strength, and strength 6 is good for the current meta. Okay, so those are the ways that I would, that's my general advice for using these blender hybrids. And I'm sure there are lots of other buffs out there which I haven't considered. And I would love it if people, my fellow followers of the Genestealer cult, my fellow worshippers of the Four-Armed Emperor, if you could let me know some other buffs that you think would be really good for some hybrid Metamorphs, then please put it down in the comment section below, because there aren't enough Genestealer cult players out there. And together we need to combine our creeds, combine our forces, so that one day we can rise up and overthrow the oppressors. But let me know what you think of this video. Let me know if you've enjoyed it. I have used hybrid Metamorphs and I have had them be really, really effective. The only thing that they struggle against in this format is something with a 2+ save. Now that does mean we're looking at Terminators. That does mean we are looking at Custodies. But those armies are very good. Black Lord Terminators for Marines, for Death Guard are very good. But they are, you're not going to face. That's I would say is the one weakness to be aware of, and it is a weakness, and you have to be aware of it, and you have to take that into account when you're using the unit. But I still have had really good success against General Marines using the blender Metamorphs. And one thing to say is it is kind of anti-meta against Death Guard, because they reduce damage by 1, and one of the ways that you get past the new Death Guard Disgusting Resilient is overwhelming them with damage 1 attacks. You just overwhelm them with as many damage 1 as possible, and having 60 hybrid Metamorphs hit on 2s, wound on 3s against a unit of Plague Marines, it's really gonna put a dent into them. I mean, if we do the quick napkin math hammer, you're looking at 50 hits before rerolls. I mean, with rerolls, you're looking at, I can't even do that math in my head. You're looking at, let's say, 55 hits. I think it's probably even more than that, because the 10 that you miss with, you roll again and you only miss on 1s. Wow. So could it be as high as like 57, 56, 57 hits? It's a lot. Okay, so you go for like 50, let's say you've got almost a full house of hits. Then you're wounding on 3s. Which means you're going to be wounding with more than, I'd say roughly you're going to be wounding with around 40. Then the enemy gets their 3+ saves, so they're gonna get like 15 wounds through. Well, that's more than, we're being very harsh on Genestealer cult in this equation, but that is a Plague Marine unit with change wiped out. That's a 7-man Plague Marine unit and change wiped out. And those Plague Marines are expensive. Those Plague Marines, what, are over 20 points a model now? That's you've got your points back there on one unit. So that's quite good. It really is an effective way of just blendering the enemy. You could do the same thing to enemy bikers, enemy vehicles, almost anything that's got a 3+ save. These guys will 3+ save or worse. These guys will blender through them. Full mobs of orcs blended. No, I kid you not. You think I'm exaggerating? You'll get through the majority of an orc mob. Because the orc, like I said, you've got like 58 hits and you're going to wound with like, what, 40? 40 wounds, roughly. The orcs have only got a 6+ save. Which means the orcs are only going to save, what, like 5 or 6 of them? That's 30 orcs like dead. Like I said, I'm probably really screwing up the math hammer here, guys. So don't hold, it's very much been done at the top of my head, napkin math hammer here. But the point is that that's, if it's not the whole mob dead, it's the vast majority of the mob just blended by a little 10-man unit. That's your points back. So they can bully units and anti-meta. They can bully meta units like Death Guard and like bikes, but they're really effective at doing is just blending through infantry. But you can do the same thing to vehicles. Last bit of terrible math hammer. You look at something like knights. Knights are worth, a knight is worth 2 squads of these hybrid Metamorphs and then some. Probably close to 3 of these Metamorph squads, and that's like 108, between 120 and 180 attacks. That's going to dent a knight. It's got to, right? It's got to. Anyway, hope you guys, if someone could do the math hammer on that, that'd be awesome. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and of course, I'll see you guys next time.